Hello, everyone. Let's see if you can hear me. Wow, it has been a while. Yeah, volume is up. Hello, everyone. Hopefully, you can all see me and hear me. If you can't hear me, you should say something. I'm looking at the chat. Say hi in the chat, and let's get this started. It's been a while. It's been a long time. I missed you all. Well, even though I don't get to see you, I missed doing a live stream. It's been, what, the last one was in November. Wow. Alrighty, thank you for confirming in the chat. Now I can see that. We'll start with tradition. What's in your cup? Tell me what you're drinking, whether it's tea or, in my case, a combination of tea and coffee. It's been a busy morning, so I haven't had anything to drink yet. Tell me where you're from. What's in your cup? I'm here in New York City, and it's kind of a nice day outside. It's not that warm, but it's kind of nice. It's been weird, the weather here lately. And for those of you who have seen this before, you notice something is different about my studio. I am making some changes. New year, new studio. Not really, but new year, better studio for audio quality. That's going to happen. Ooh, Monster Energy drink. I don't know where you're from, Mark, but it's too early for me for Monster Energy drink. Black tea in Bucharest I can get along with. I got some Earl Grey, my favorite. One day I will switch this up, you will see. But for now, my favorite. Thank you, Melissa. I work hard on the sound. It will be even better. So today I have a pretty interesting topic, I would say. On the one hand, it's really cool. On the other, I think many people misunderstand what it can do. And I have been getting a ton of questions about it. So very soon, once people shuffle in, we're going to get into it. And we're going to talk about ChatGPT, the thing everyone's been talking about for the last, month and a half? 2 months, maybe? That's really the length of how it's been on the store. I keep saying store. On the web, in existence. I actually did a keyword teardown on the keyword ChatGPT because everyone was trying to use it and Apple was kicking apps out of the store, really in and out. And they kept on coming back with different names. It was pretty interesting. I'll drop a link to it if you didn't get to read it. I think it was maybe keyword teardown 91. I'll figure that out later. Ooh, espresso shot in Latvia. I'm doing espresso. What kind of beans do you have? Beer? 8:30 p.m. That's nice. Oh, that's nice. It's always beer o'clock somewhere. You know what they say. I should really bring these comments on screen. I think that would be really cool. Let's see if I can do that. Let's test my ability to bring comments on the screen. I haven't done this in so long. Let's see. Does this work? Yes, it does work. Beer. I mean, who knows? Oh no, cough syrup. Feel better, Melissa. This crazy weather we've been having. There's so many ons and offs. Water in Chicago. I can get behind that. Hello, India. Starbucks Nespresso coffee. I don't know how I feel about this, but it's probably not too bad. Water and cold brew. I think that's a good combo. We're having too much fun here. We should probably get started. So, hi, I am Ariel from App Figures. Animation still work. If you have been here before, you know that I talk about App Store optimization, app marketing, and really anything that can help you get more downloads and more revenue for your apps. And if you're new here, I talk about App Store optimization, app marketing, and things that can help you get more downloads for your apps. And today's topic came from a question that I have been asked a ton of times since the beginning of January, and that is, can ChatGPT, this amazing innovation that came out at the end of 2022, can it do ASO for me? And the answer is no, absolutely not. Nothing can automate the task and the iterations and what you need to do in order to really get more downloads. And that's why some apps are really successful because they do it. And some apps are not as much. But while it can't do it for you, it can definitely help you do it better and faster. So For those of you who have not touched ChatGPT or don't know what it is, I imagine there's still a few out there who don't know what it is, even though my entire Twitter stream is all about it. ChatGPT is AI, and I'm not going to get into the technicals of how it works. That's for data scientists. And if there's someone in the audience who wants to explain it in the chat, go for it. But ChatGPT is AI that can talk to you. It's trained on the entire web, mostly the entire web, but up until 2021. So it has a ton of knowledge, and it can use that knowledge to complete sentences, meaning you ask it a question and it can complete an answer for you. So it's very conversational. There's a lot more to it, obviously, but I have been very interested in seeing how I can leverage it to take maybe some of the less fun things from Opster optimization and have the machine do that for me, or at least attempt to do that for me. So the main task is going to be much faster. There are a lot of things that I do, but I don't enjoy doing, or I enjoy doing everything I don't really want to do unless I absolutely have to, like writing descriptions or coming up with ideas for titles. I've been using it to come up with ideas for titles for my newsletter. It never really wrote a title or a header for me, but it gave me ideas, and I took them and I massaged them into something that sounded great. So from my perspective, when I'm asked if ChatGPT can do ASO for me, the answer is no, but it can help you with ideas, with speeding up tasks that usually take a long time, and with making things that are kind of boring semi-automated. And what I did, or what I have been doing for the last month or so, is I've been looking at ways in which we, amp figures, can bring in ChatGPT or AI in general in order to do those things for you automatically, right in our tools and within our reports. And as I was working on this, I discovered a whole slew of things that I figured could help you right now, even though they're not in the platform yet. And they might make it into the platform, they may not. We have to think about how we do it in a way that scales, in a way that actually adds value and takes away some of those chores. But before we even do that, you can do it with ChatGPT right now. Well, kind of right now. So my whole plan for this live stream was to show you the prompts that I came up with and using those prompts to generate actual things. So I'm going to talk about keywords and screenshots and descriptions. And I wanted to show you how that's done in real time. But if you've used ChatGPT before, you know that it's usually under heavy load in morning times here in the US, which is exactly what's happening right now. Let me show you. Ta-da! Well, I mean, not ta-da. Ta-da! That's the best I can do. So instead, what I'm going to do, well, let's give it a try. Maybe something changed. No, it's still under capacity right now, or at capacity right now. And for the record, I have applied for ChatGPT Plus like as soon as the form came up. Maybe once I realized the form was legit. There's a whole thread of this on Twitter, but I have not gotten my account yet. So if you know anyone who can hook me up with a Plus account, and you can make that happen in the next 5 minutes, let's make that happen. But otherwise, I thought about this and I was ready. So I came up with what I call a prompt sheet for app marketers. And what I did was I wrote all my prompts and I screenshotted all the responses. So we can go through these today and I will show you what I use. Well, you can see it on the screen now. I will show you a few things that I use in order to understand apps, in order to take the mundane and make it slightly more automated, which is really everything that have to do with everything that has to do with writing descriptions and modifying descriptions. And that's really important for Google Play and not for the App Store, but also headers for screenshots. And the most interesting thing, and the thing that is obviously the most important and the most useful, keyword research. I left it all the way to the end. We will make it all the way to the end on this one because I really want to show you what that is. Let's see some comments in the chat. I was using it the other day to help me create a customer avatar. Interesting. ChatGPT to generate descriptions and hashtags for the last app. Had to change a bit. Oh, I can put these on the screen for you. What am I doing over here? So let's see how people use ChatGPT. Water and cold brew. That's our old message. Here we go. So Avars is using ChatGPT to generate description and hashtags for the last app. Had to change a big part of that, but better than blank page start. That is exactly what I'm saying here. Writing descriptions is so boring. People actually pay us to write descriptions for them because it's one of those things that you can do a million different ways, and you can do them wrong a million different ways, but you can do them right only a handful of ways. And if you start wrong, it's so much more difficult to get to a point that is right when it comes to keyword density, something I will be talking about in a future live stream, and also when you talk about how to sell, which is really important on Google Play. Victoria is saying, I was using it the other day to help me create a customer avatar. Not to forget, ChatGPT can give you the text you need in nearly all languages. Wow, I didn't know it's more accurate than Google Translate. Localizations. I don't know if I would use ChatGPT or Google Translate for localizations, but it's good if you're prototyping. I've done that before. So that's interesting. So let's get back to my prompt sheet and let's get started. You've all seen what I have on my prompt sheet. Is there anything particular that you think I should start with? Should I start with keyword research or should I start with the other things? Let me know in the chat. I'm curious. We're going to go back in here. Oh wow, more fun stuff in the chat. Using it to reply to reviews, something I have been looking at. Didn't make the cut for this live stream, but definitely something I really want to do more of. Let's see what else. What else? It's amazing. Yep, I concur. And we used to help us write blogs and fill out long application forms or even support emails. That is interesting. How many of you answer support emails with ChatGPT? I thought about the concept because I get a lot of emails, but I never actually did it because my emails are me. So that's that. All right, we're starting to get some answers. Antonio wants keywords. I'm with you, Antonio, on this one. And that's actually the most interesting workflow. Let's see. Who else? Oh, testing prompts from Thomas. Hello, Brooke. Some guy writes his own emails. That's good. I write my own emails too. I think that's the only way to go. Carlos is using it to answer support emails. We're going to talk about that later. Maybe outside of this. Maybe I'll ping you on Twitter. I'm curious if it really works. Wild. Okay, so back to ChatGPT. So let me give you the basics and the kind of stuff that I learned as I was starting to do this. In the beginning, I gave it very simple questions. Give me a list of keywords for this particular topic. And, that worked for the most part. It didn't really do an amazing job of giving me great keywords. It gave me the kind of stuff that I can come up with on my own, but it did it faster and I didn't have to think about it. So it saved me both the brain energy and also the time. So that already on its own, a one-sentence question was enough to kick things off, but that wasn't enough for me. So I wanted to do more. Let me show you what I ended up with for keyword research. And all these prompts I intend, right now they're in a Notion doc that I made for myself, but I intend to make them available to everyone as a resource, probably after this after this live stream. Keyword teardown, we're doing that too in the future. So let's take a look. Now, I really want to jump into keyword research, even though I put it last, because I figured save the best for last. Let's do that first. I really like that. So I started by saying something like, give me 10 keywords that are relevant and related to the topic of time tracking. Now, time tracking was just a random topic that I picked because I was doing some other looking into on time tracking, and that was on my mind. So the idea behind this is to give me a bunch of things that are relevant, and while there are other ways to do this, I wanted to see what this ChatGPT AI can give me. So it gave me 10 keywords that are relevant and related to the topic of time tracking. Now, some of these you can tell are directly and immediately useful as keywords. Time management, perfect. Efficiency, not so much. Task management, perfect. Tracking, time logs, perfect. Billable hours, maybe. We'll put it somewhere in the maybe category. Timesheet, I can deal with that. So that was pretty easy, and that took just a couple of seconds. I could have asked for 100, I could have asked for 50, I could have asked for really however many I wanted, and that was really useful. So I'll show you what I'm going to do with these in just a little bit, but this wasn't enough for me, so I continued. And I noticed something. I saw a lot of people. So I went through every possible search engine optimization video and article on ChatGPT and how to use it. And I have to say, 95% of them are absolutely useless. Hopefully, this live stream is going to be much more useful and will give you something actionable. And if it isn't, give me a thumbs down later. But what I realized is that if you tell it the intent of the answer, you tell it what you expect for it to do, it will give you better results. So I crafted this prompt. You are a search marketer tasked with finding the best keywords to get visibility to a mobile app. Mobile app marketing is very similar to website marketing, SEO, and you have that experience as well. So I try to give it the idea that it knows how to do ASO and it knows how to do SEO. The reason for that is there are years and countless articles about search engine optimization that it's trained on. There isn't much in terms of ASO that it's trained on, and I would imagine a bunch of it is actually my writing, so I didn't want that back. So continuing from there, I tried the exact same prompt. I told it what it is. You are a search marketer, and I this time asked for 15 keywords. Now, you will notice that I said please. I know this is one of those, you either do it or you don't. I'm talking to something. I'm just very comfortable saying please. Some people look at this and make fun of me because it's a machine and it doesn't know. But I also say thank you to Siri. So that's just how I do it. You don't have to say please to ChatGPT. And you saw before, I didn't. I wanted to see if there would be any difference, but ChatGPT does not care much for emotion. So there is a comment from Thomas in the chat. Thomas is saying it's very important to set the context for the quality of the output, which is very, very true. In the beginning, I didn't actually think that was the case because how would that make any sense? But as you'll see in a second, it actually changes the output because by setting the context, you're really narrowing down what it will do for you. So if it has to make a decision between 2 keywords out of the 15, maybe there's a 16th that could be good. Given context, it will do a better job at giving you what you want specifically. There are a whole bunch of ways to give it context. I think this is probably one of the nicest. And so if that's the case, it works for me. It also feels better saying this. Ultimately, a lot of things here you can do a bunch of different ways, but I'm talking to something and it kind of responds, so I want to say it in a way that makes sense. So next up, we look at the list. And now you'll see we don't have billable hours, which was my problem before. So time management, task management, productivity, scheduling, goal setting, time logs, deadlines, project management, time allocation, time management app. We'll drop the app because that's ignored. Personal productivity, to-do list. All those are actually useful. So if you take these right now and you say, these are the keywords that I want to research, boom, you don't have to do anything else. That's as easy as that. You can set the number from 15 to 5 to 25 to 35, however much time you have for research, that's how many keywords you should be looking at. And I wrote a whole bunch of different articles on what to do with these keywords, how to research them. What does research even mean? What should you look for? How do you use them? So I'll link to all of those later in case you haven't read them or you need to brush up on that. But this is such an easy way to get a list. But that again was not enough for me because that list is really not that super special. If given enough time, I can come up with this list with enough Googling and enough looking into competitors and enough looking at suggestions. And we do use AI under the hood for suggestions, so we will give you some suggestions that actually are in this realm. ChatGPT is amazing and way better than anything I've ever seen, so I'm not going to compare them, but that's still something that we can do. So I decided to get a little bit more descriptive. And I said, please give me 10 keywords that are related and relevant, but do not repeat, number 1, and explain why each of the keywords is relevant to the topic in a sentence. So I asked it to get really crafty. And the reason I did that is because usually when you look at keywords and when you think about keywords that people are searching for, it's about more than just the actual feature that the keyword gives you. So a lot of times I talk to people who use features as keywords, and that's for the most part okay. But if you think about it, a better way to look at it, and the popularity scores will actually agree with me on this, is you want to look for intent. People don't necessarily just look for a feature, they look for something they want to do. And you see a lot more of this in search engine optimization land on the web, but you're starting to see more of that in the App Store and on Google Play, because people are now using those as their means of getting stuff done. So if you want to get stuff done, you're not necessarily just looking for a feature that will get it done. You're thinking even higher level, like, I just want to get it done. So that's what I'm going to look for. So you want to find stuff that's actionable. You want to find stuff that's intentful. And by asking the machine to give me the description of why it picked a specific keyword, as you'll see very soon, I'm able to extract a little bit more meaning and a little bit more of that intent into my results. And I don't love copying and pasting too much or modifying text by hand. So in a few prompts, you will see how this becomes super easy and super actionable. So let's go back to the Notion so we can continue to see what's going on. So that was my prompt. I asked it again. I made sure to tell it what it is. So we set the context, and then I got this huge body of text. And this is wonderful for search engine optimization and for App Store optimization and for anything that has to do with keywords, for the very simple reason it has a lot of words. And a lot of words are really good for us. We can use a lot of words to do a lot of things. So what we have here is we have those same keywords from before for the most part, but now we have a reason for why they're relevant. We have an intent. So for example, goal setting. This keyword is relevant to the topic of time tracking because it involves establishing desired customers and creating a plan to achieve them, which can be aided by monitoring and tracking progress. So we have progress, we have tracking, we have monitoring, we have customers, we have plan, we have time tracking. This is all very useful. So if I wanted to stop here, I would take this and I would read this, and in my mind, I would extract all the keywords that are repeating themselves, and I would use those to then continue, bring them into something like Keyword Inspector, or as you'll see soon, Keyword Performance. And from Keyword Performance, I would dump them all in and see what's going on. I'll see which ones rank already for my app, or my app ranks already in. That I think is grammatically correct. And we'll also see how popular they are. And if there are ones that are popular enough, we can go with that. So this is really, in my opinion, a gold mine. And we achieve that in 2 sentences, really. 2 long sentences, but 2 sentences nevertheless. Now, I aim to keep this entire live stream. This is going to be like the simple way of using ChatGPT. There are way more complicated ways with prompts that are 6 sentences long and have a bunch of variables in them. We're not going to do those today because, in my opinion, those are totally unnecessary, and tools should do that. And I know someone who's building those tools. That's me. So we'll worry about those later. But we're already in a gold mine of keywords here. But obviously, I'm nowhere near done. So what I did was I wanted to turn it into something actionable and not have to do it in my head. So let's continue. Now, this is a secondary prompt, so this comes after that prompt. They don't have to happen together. So I told it, give me all the unique monograms or bigrams. I do both usually, and you'll see in a second why. So first I asked for monograms and then bigrams. So give me all the unique monograms. Monograms just means 1 words, and bigrams 2-word phrases. In the response, removing common stop words, sorted by how many times they are repeated. And this gives me an amazing answer, which I forgot to screenshot, unfortunately, and it was too late by the time I realized this, so continue with me here. We'll check if we can log into ChatGPT again in a few minutes. And what this gave me was what I just did in my head. So it took all this huge body of text and it counted the number of repetition or the frequency of each keyword, and then it sorted by it, and then it gave me a list on the screen, and it was magical. And you can ask it for how many terms you want or whether you want everything that is repeated more than once. I didn't do any of those because I'm looking to expand and get as many keywords as possible. But I'm also starting with just 10 keywords to begin with. So off of 10 keywords, I'm going to get a very actionable list of things. Now, next up, I asked it for the bigrams because I want both 1 word and 2 words. So I ran those as 2 separate things. And then, even though I don't have a screenshot, I did it, I promise. Then the magic happened. This is the last step of my workflow. And this entire workflow took maybe a few minutes. It took me longer to explain it. I asked it to combine the list of monograms and bigrams that I asked for it before into a single list where each is separated by comma. Ta-da! Look what I have. I have a list of keywords that I can now take and copy and paste right into really anything that will give me a lot of information about it. My favorite tool for this would be the Keyword Performance Report. And if you're not familiar with it, let's take a look quickly. See if I'm logged into my AppFigures account here. I'm not logged into my AppFigures account here. This is my streaming computer, so let's see what happens. I'm going to log in with Google. And then I am going to go into Keyword Performance. So what's happening in Keyword Performance, in case you're not familiar with this view, and if you're not, let me know in the chat so I know that I need to do a live stream on this, obviously. What's happening here is for any app, yours or a competitor's, usually yours, but in my case, apps that I don't own, you can take that and then track any keyword that you would like. So let's see if we have any time tracking apps. I don't know what this is, but we're going to give it a go. We have a lot of apps in our account. Drive Time, that's kind of a time tracking app. So I'm not tracking any keywords right now for this, but what I can do is I can take these keywords, which I actually can't take because this is a screenshot and I didn't think about this, and I didn't copy and paste the actual list. But there are, now imagine if I could take this entire list, and I'm just going to type it for the beginning, and put this right into my specific app. So it's going to track all these keywords from my specific app. So let's see, time tracking, productivity goals. I don't know if they're that applicable, but work with me here. Time tracking, productivity goals. What else do we want to give it from this list? Fun. Scheduling tasks and daily schedule. Whoa, wrong. Well, we're here. Might as well check. Nope, still down. Let's see, daily schedule. Ideally, this would be a copy and paste. And that's the cool thing about asking it to concatenate those two lists, make them unique, sort them, and then give them to us in a comma, because you can then take this right out of ChatGPT, throw it into Keyword Performance. And I was going to track those keywords for this app. I don't know what this app is, even though it is in my account, but we now have data on it. So we see that it's not ranked for time tracking, but popularity, not amazing, also not low. Daily schedule, also not really great, but also not terrible. But look at that competitiveness, a lot easier. So now I can really at a glance understand what kind of keywords will work for my app, if my app is already ranked there, and whether I should optimize for those apps. And from there, I can go and do more research. So I can jump into my favorite tool, Keyword Inspector, and I can start looking at which apps are ranking over here, which apps, how many downloads they have, and this new metric that we added fairly recently, I think last week, that I've been talking about in Keyword Teardowns for a long time, even though this is not the time to talk about it. But this is really cool. This is very useful. I talked about it in the last Keyword Teardown that I did yesterday. So if you have no idea what this is, check out the Keyword Teardown. It's super useful and something you should be tracking for your app really all the time. So this is how I would do keyword research with ChatGPT. It took me very long to explain. In real life, you copy and paste really 3 prompts, 4 prompts, and you can do this in a matter of maybe 10 minutes, maybe even less if you're a fast copier and paster. And this works for pretty much everything. Even though ChatGPT is really only trained up until 2021, most of the keywords and most of the apps and most of the ideas and most of the topics are kind of generic enough that they would be in its language model. And if it's something super novel, super new that only happened in 2022, don't use ChatGPT. But for everyone else, this will work pretty well. Now, again, keep in mind, this is not going to do your keywords for you, but this in 10 minutes will give you a ton of keywords for you to research that would have taken you a couple of hours to put together on your own, I'm pretty sure. So it just saved you a couple hours in several prompts, 3 prompts. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So that's that. Confetti, because I think that's the fastest way and the best way to use ChatGPT for ASO. And if you're into that, give me a like. I like likes. We're at 28 right now. Let's jump to more. I think we can do more than 100. Let's aim for 200 today. Can we do 200? Let's try. 200. If you know someone who would benefit from this video, let them know just so they can like. Obviously, I promote stuff. That's what I do. I have to say these things. That's just the normal. So back to my Notion, and this is for the most part, this was like my big thing. I've been working on this for the longest time, and I kind of like this. It looks super simple, but I tried a bunch of different things. I have gotten to a point where ChatGPT told me it can't do what I wanted to do so many times. Like, I'm only a language model. Like, I understand, but you can concatenate stuff. And finding the way to do that in a way that sounds super easy took a while, but I really like the results. Hopefully you can put this to good use and just come up with a whole bunch of keywords, track them in keyword performance, and optimize for the ones that make sense. And if you're not using keyword performance yet because maybe you don't have ASO tools in your plan or you're not using app figures, if that's the case, we're going to offer a 30% discount code to all of you who are watching this. It will expire very soon, so it's only for people who are watching this live. You're rewarded for being here with me this fine morning or 8:30, wherever beer drinker is. And we will put that in the description. We'll put that in the chat, actually, so everyone has it. And you can go and use it and sign up for, I believe, the optimized plan and above. That's where all the real good tools for ASO are. So if you're not doing ASO or you're not doing it with the tools, now you can do it for a lot less. You're welcome. Enjoy. So next up on my list are not really keywords, but almost. I'll show you what I mean. So let's go back to my Notion. One of the things that I get to do often, and actually even worse, one of the things that I see most developers do wrong is they don't title their screenshots very well. And the reason why this is so bad is actually not App Store optimization, but instead it's the fact that when you deal with people, you have to sell. And screenshots on their own, while nice, they grab attention. But if they don't tell you what you're looking at, what are you going to do about it? As a user, you're not going to think too much. Most users prefer when information is given to them versus them having to think about that information. So if I want to be an amazing marketer and I want my app to be number one in all the places and get all the downloads, I will make sure that every screenshot is annotated and explains exactly what the user is looking at. Because when you look at a phone, obviously this is my phone. When you look at a phone, you don't exactly know what to look at, what the developer wants you to look at. And so pointing their attention to a very specific element, explaining what it is, and also more than anything else, why do you need it? Why do you need this specific thing? And why did I decide to do it first? So many developers do it wrong, and we can use ChatGPT to give us ideas for how to do it better. So let me show you again. So titles for screenshots. This one is a little bit tricky, but it's nice. You are an app maker who's building a mobile app to help people with accounting. I switched my topics. I needed something new. What are 5 things people who use accounting apps need, starting with the most important, and, as I learned from my previous prompt, explain each one in a sentence with a maximum of 5 words. A maximum of 5 words because otherwise it would just be too many words to put into a title. Use language that is direct, positive, and very actionable. All the things that if you read my guide on titling screenshots, I said are the best practices. So we gave it a shot, and this is what we got. Accurate financial tracking. Who doesn't want accurate financial tracking? Monitor income and expenses easily. Secure data protection. Obviously, I want everything to be secure. It's my money. It's my financials. So, super simple. Multi-currency support. Hopefully your app supports that. If not, obviously delete this from the list. Customizable tax calculation, user-friendly interface. Now, it's very possible that some of these don't align with what your app does particularly, but you get the idea. So it gives you something that you can put above your screenshots, and it gives you something that you can replace it with if you want it to be more actionable. This is really 1 minute maybe of time, and I only asked for 5 because I didn't want more. You have 10 screenshots. Obviously, use all of them. And I tend to ask for more than I need when I actually do this, not for demonstration purposes. Hang on, it's tea time before my voice completely disappears. much better. I don't know. Better. We'll go with better. So that was a really easy one that I saw. If you are not using titles in your screenshots right now, just go and do this. Ask for 15, use 8, you will be good to go. Even if you just copy and paste and upload new screenshots, it's that crazy. I have talked to many, many developers. None of them have said that once they put titles on their screenshots, downloads dropped. None. And I've seen developers do it in ways that are not pretty necessarily. I should say utilitarian. I am a firm believer in being utilitarian, except for in screenshots and in icons. Those have to be professional. So that is another really, really, really easy one. Let's go back and see what else I have on my list. And again, I will make this available. So if you're trying to copy and paste or write these down, you don't have to. I'll drop a link to it in the description once I make it available somehow to the public out of my little Notion page. And if you're a Notion user and you like Notion, in the last episode of This Week in Apps, my video that I published on Sunday, I talked about Notion and how it's growing. It's wild. Like, everyone is using Notion. Side note. Okay. So now another one that I like, and I have not seen anyone talk about, is summarizing with ChatGPT. So I call it getting to know your competitors quickly. And this is probably one of the best candidates for a feature that I want to build in ASO and in our competitor intelligence suite in general. This is something we've been thinking about for a long time. And this is kind of a very crude way to do it, but this is a way to do it. It doesn't leverage any data because obviously ChatGPT doesn't have our kind of competitor intelligence that you will get from us. But this gives you a very simple and quick idea of what's going on with an app before you even know what it is. So I asked it to summarize the following app description, extracting from it the most important features the app offers, and if present, who the target audience is, what it costs, and if it's a recurring subscription, and also whether there's a free trial for this recurring subscription. Now, the key to this comes at the end. I asked it to do it using bullet points for your answers because I don't like reading long sentences. They drive me insane. When I have to, it's a summary. It's supposed to be really, really fast and quick and easy to read. So I only learned that after trying this a whole bunch of times and not understanding why the responses are essays. So this is what it gave me. And I gave it the, I should add that I gave it the entire description of Bumble, which I was able to get very quickly out of the keyword density tool that we'll be using in a few moments. So I ran it, and this is what it gave me. Bumble is a free dating social network app for singles. That's exactly how Bumble says it. It's not a dating app. It's a social network. Women make the first move, 3 modes. Everything else that's happening here is coming right out of the description, but is also super easy to read. And let me show you what the description looks like, just so you have an idea. I'm going to pull it from keyword density because I'm going to use that anyway in a second. So Bumble. This is the description. Much less readable. Definitely not something you can summarize with your eyes, or at least I can do it with my eyes. It's got a bunch of different things. It also has a bunch of highlights here. We'll worry about those in a minute. But it's just a bunch of text. And I don't want to read a bunch of text when I'm thinking of summarizing. This is such a better summary, in my opinion. So one of the things you can do with this, or the thing you can do with this, is take the description of any of your competitors, or all of your competitors one by one, drop them in here, and see what it gives you. Now, you have a mental model, or you have a thought of what your competitors do, but it's always nice to understand how the developer of that app thinks about their app. And that's what you're going to get in here. So you're going to get all the things they're showing off with, all the things they think are most important, that if you just read this, you can do this with your mind, of course. You can do this in your head, and you can spend time doing this again and again. But this is so much easier. This took a second, maybe 3 seconds. And within those 3 seconds, I got a very detailed list of everything that's going on. So that, to me, is super powerful. Now imagine this with data and with updates and with SDK installs and technology changes, which is what we're going to build. And you have yourself really the easiest way to do competitor research. Coming soon. Later. I've been saying coming soon to a few things, like Apple's Search Ad Intelligence. They're really coming soon, I promise. Okay, and that's yet another set of things. And then last on my list, and I think we still have time, which is great. Maybe I'm talking too fast, If you have any questions, I should say, drop them in the chat. I'm half looking at the chat, so I can figure out what's going on. But also, next up are descriptions. And the thing about descriptions is they're tedious to write. They kind of don't matter for the most part. I'll explain what I mean in a minute. But you need to have them. And you need to have them for two reasons. You need to have them because people expect to be able to read something when they see an app, your app, on the App Store or on Google Play. And in the case of Google Play, they actually give you ranks. They improve your rank up or down. They can hurt your rank or they can improve your rank through something called keyword density. Something I haven't, but will publish a guide on very, very soon. So with keyword density, the idea is you have to repeat certain keywords enough times. It's the exact opposite of the name of the subtitle or the name of the short description, where repetition is punished. In the long description, specifically on Google Play, repetition is encouraged and repetition is rewarded, only if you do it a specific way. So I have a few prompts to come up with a description, to improve a description. To improve a description, again, there are two ways to improve a description. And then I'll show you how I use those prompts with keyword density. I've been saying a lot of keyword things. With keyword density to make sure that what I'm doing is actually right. So let's jump back in. And a quick question from the chat. Can I open this document? This, I don't think so. I'll do that later. I'll figure out how to share it with everyone in just a little bit after I'm done here. And I will send an email. If you're on the newsletter, I will send an email with a link to whatever I end up opening, whether it's a resource on the site or a link to some Notion. And we can, and you'll be able to access all these prompts and all these screenshots. And hopefully, if it's late enough, you'll also be able to run them. So let's go back to the computer and talk about descriptions. So I want to say the biggest thing that people ask me is, how do I write a quick description? Writing descriptions is awful. Writing descriptions takes forever. And I do believe all those things. I've written so many descriptions. I actually had this, I ran this experiment. So I wrote a description for an app, very specific app, a few years ago. And it took me a long time to put together. But it was one of those things that there aren't alternatives. There are similar apps, but they're not exactly the same. And I wanted to do something that really stands out and is really unique and on its own actually sells the app. And so I wrote this description. And when ChatGPT came out, the first thing I did was I tried to get it to write a description for the same app because it was still on my mind years later. And it gave me almost the identical same description, which I thought was either my description or maybe I tapped into the AI. Whatever it is, it was kind of magnificent. So that's what I'm trying to do here is write a description. Now, I did say before that ChatGPT can't do whole things for you, but it can kickstart you or put you in the right direction. And that's what I aimed to do here. The results were actually a lot better than I expected. But keep this in mind, this is not going to be creative. It's not going to give you something that's wonderful, that's pleasing, that people will look at and be like, wow, this is the expertest copywriter in the world. You don't need that for the most part. So if you just take this and you modify just a little bit so it sounds sane, you're probably okay. I didn't say this. You didn't hear this from me, but yes, you can be very lazy and use this to write descriptions. I wouldn't, but I would use this as a starting point. So let's get to the prompt. You are an expert copywriter. Again, we're setting the tone for this. We're setting the context for this. The context is copywriting. And we wanted to start on something that is important. So we don't want it to just guess off of one keyword. We want to give it a little bit more. What I did was I gave it a list of features, and I said, please turn the following list of features of a mobile app called Timely. I just made it up. If there is an app that's called Timely, this has nothing to do with it, into a full description consisting of 4 paragraphs. We have to give it some parameters, and one list of bullets. And that's normally my go-to when I write descriptions, 3 or 4 paragraphs, 1 list of bullets, and maybe at the end something about support, which I decided to skip here because that I can just copy and paste from really any template that I've ever put together. Now, here's also the important part. Use a professional but casual tone that's authoritative and will guide the reader towards taking action. And if you remember, that's almost identical to what I just did with screenshots. So we want to sound professional. We don't want any sort of weirdness, but I prefer to always sound casual. I think that any app that uses a tone that's too professional or too strict is just not going to be read. The odds of someone reading this are so small that if you already got someone to read, you have to please them. You have to make them, you have to put a smile on their face. And you have to also tell them what they want to hear. So a professional but casual tone to me is always the go-to. But we also want it to be authoritative because no one wants to listen to just something. It has to sound like it knows what it's talking about, and it has to get you towards taking action, and that action is a download. So I did that, and then I gave it 5 different bullets. Ideally, I would give it a few more, but I really wanted to see what would happen with just 5. So easy time tracking, built-in scheduler, goal management, deadline setter, and great support, because support is super important. And those of you who've talked to our support know that we put a lot of effort into support. So hopefully you are too. Now, I ran this, and here's what came out. So I said, you're an expert copywriter. I just said all of these things, and I got an actual description out, which was a little bit mind-blowing. The text here is kind of generic, and if you ask any copywriter what they think about this, they'll say, well, this is kind of generic. But for most readers, this is actually not bad at all. It's not going to win the Copywriter of the Year award in any way, but it works. This is something you can put in your app, and in a minute, this took a little bit longer to compile because it's just so much text, but in a minute, it gave me something that would take me longer to read than it took it to write, and with a few minor tweaks, is ready to go. And again, if you want to get lazy, copy and paste the whole thing. It's not that bad. But again, you didn't hear this from me, and I will probably erase this from the video at some point in the future if I can. So the goal or the idea behind this prompt is you have to tell it, you have to set the context, you have to give it the parameters of what you're trying to write, and you have to set the tone. And then you have to give it features. I did all those, and that really what seems to be working. So that's next. That's the next thing that I will use ChatGPT for, is to compile large bodies of text. And I've been going down the path of trying to understand how to use ChatGPT in general for things related to text. Someone mentioned in the chat that they're using ChatGPT to reply to reviews and reply to emails, and those kind of tend to be similar. And I want to help with that as well. I'm not going to talk about it in this one, but I do have other things that are interesting. And so that has been my kind of secondary focus, other than keywords. How do we use that to simplify the task of replying, of writing text, of modifying text? Modifying text is an art form on its own that I put GPT to the test with. And I think I managed to get it to work. These are probably my my more loose prompts, and they give me results that are not always great. But I wanted to share them anyway because there might be something there, and maybe some of you can actually improve them. I think that they could be really, really powerful. And again, those would be candidates for something that we would put into the platform in the long run. So let's see if we can see those. Back to this. So keywords for description is the next one. Let's see, what else do I have on here? So we have get keywords for description, change keyword density, and add new words for description. Let's talk about get keywords for description. That's kind of easy. And then we'll talk about the rest. So for this, what I did is I looked beyond just regular keywords. When it comes to optimizing text, Google is notoriously known for liking words that are similar. So there are many, many models for what similar keywords are, but they don't always look at repetition. They look at repetition, and they look at repetition of similar keywords, which usually in the search engine optimization world has become LSI keywords. LSI stands for something latent semantic. I forgot what the I is for. We'll look it up later. But it's similar keywords based on some model. Google has said multiple times that LSI doesn't work, but they also did not say that LSI or similarities to LSI don't work. So that's what everyone calls it. Ultimately, long story short, these are similar keywords with a very specific purpose. So I know that our app talks about time tracking, and I want the description for my Google Play version to be very well optimized. So I want to find other terms that I can repeat for time tracking that are not the word time tracking. And hopefully I didn't confuse you. I used a lot of words here. So I said that very specifically. You are a search engine optimization bot. I did that too. And I noticed that telling it it's a person versus a bot makes no change. So it just, if you want to have fun with it. So you are a search engine optimization expert or bot, the best of your kind. I have a feeling that does nothing, but I added it just in case. Please give me 10 LSI keywords for time tracking. And these are, and this is where this becomes really cool. These are coming from Google because this is optimized on a lot of Google stuff as well. And so this is what Google thought was LSI, meaning relevant, latent semantic indexing, maybe, for time tracking. Now, if you are optimizing your Google Play description and you want to make sure you have enough repetition of these, that's it. Take one of these, take any of these that make sense, and continue with it. That's just how easy this is. I asked for 10. Again, you can ask for 15 or 20 or 30, or I don't think you can ask for 1 million. I will try that after this. But you can ask for many. Find the ones that you like the most. Find the ones that align with other keywords you're optimizing for in your name and short description, and use those. Now, let me show you what I mean when I say use those. So I'm going to take, for example, we have Bumble loaded up, and I use Bumble in my examples as well, so we'll keep them. Now, this is the keyword density tool that takes a description and tells you what the algorithm, in this case, Google Play, what it sees. And it's seeing all of these keywords as important. New people, meet new, free dating, new friends, can find. I don't know if it cares about that as much, obviously. Find dates. So this is what the algorithm sees, and this is based on repetitions and also based on the number of repetitions out of the total number of words that exist in this description, called keyword density, if you've done this before. This was a concept that came from the web, and it makes perfect sense for why Google would use this for app descriptions. So there are a few very basic rules that we could care about here, but one of them is that the most important keyword needs to have a keyword density of about 3%. I usually aim for very high 2 or maybe a 3 and a little bit. It can probably go up a little bit higher, but no more than 5%. So now my task is, say I want to optimize for free dating, which is something that would make sense for a dating app, a dating social network, to optimize for. Now, free dating is at 1.55%, which is just too low. I would say it's not lowest, and that's why you don't see a warning here for anything, but it's very low. And if this was too low, you would get a warning. But it's just not good. So if I am doing App Store optimization for Bumble, one of the first things that I want to do is I want to take this and improve it. What's a better way to do it than to, well, dive into here and start rethinking my sentences and see where I can integrate free dating more. Or I can just ask ChatGPT. So that's what I did here. I asked it to do this exact same thing, and I came up with a warning, and I also didn't do a screenshot because it was too long for some reason. But this is what I tried to do. So I said, you're an expert copywriter. Please modify the following text being the description for Bumble, so it includes the phrase free dating exactly 8 times, making the smallest number of modifications to the text overall and keeping its length similar to the original. It kind of did that. It followed most of what I said. I don't have a screenshot, unfortunately, but the output was actually exactly what you would expect. It took it and it added more free dating to the sentences. And for the most part, it actually worked really well. There were a couple that just didn't make any sense, but 6 out of 8 is great. Now, I did notice that instead of making sure that the total is 8 times, it added 8 new instances of free dating. So keep that in mind. I started with 4 and I ended up with 12. And what that did for me was it pushed the density all the way up to 5%, and that was a little bit too much. But that's how easy that is. And let's see, let's try this again and see if we can do it. Nah, not even close. Maybe by the next live stream, I'll have Pro, or whatever they call their paid tier, Plus. And then we can do this again. So this was pretty easy. The results of this were kind of remarkable. And I took this and then continued with it. Based on all the keyword research that we've done so far, one of the things that you're probably thinking to do with your description is we need to introduce some more new keywords into it, not just repeat keywords. So if you know that free dating is repeated just enough times, let's say 3 and a little bit percent, that's probably good enough, but you still need more things that have to do with dating and with free. And you want to make sure that use that LSI prompt from before to get those. So you'll find those. How do you bring them in? You can, again, go into the editor and start modifying text and start making sure that the text actually flows and sounds good and is not too long because you don't want to bore people and has all the characteristics that it had before. Or you can ask ChatGPT. So I came up with a prompt to add words to the description, and now we're finally running out of time, so that's happening. But we're going to get through these. These are really cool. I asked it to add the phrase salad wars and pillow fight. I needed something that would be hilarious to the following description, ensuring that the phrases are repeated 3 times in total and maintaining the same flow and length of the text. It again did not exactly listen to the same number of repetitions as I asked it to. And in this case, it gave me, I think, 4 instead of 3. But I'll continue refining that prompt. The results were hilarious and actually useful. So I gave it this prompt, and I gave it just a portion of the description. I didn't want to do the whole thing, but you can do the whole thing. It's exactly the same. And it actually did it, and I highlighted those in the screenshot so you can see it. And if you read it, it actually makes sense. So it kept the first sentence as is, and then it says whether you want to meet friends and make genuine matches and meaningful connections, all again coming from the original text. Engage in pillow fight, chat with strangers. So it managed to figure out a way to insert it into the sentence, in the middle of the sentence, and it still made sense. And I thought that was pretty cool and silly. Your mileage may vary on this because now we're getting into very complicated word manipulation and text manipulation, but in this case, it worked. And had I put something that wasn't as hilarious as this, you wouldn't even realize that AI actually modified that description. And from the Google standpoint, this would help you get better ranks, which would help you get more downloads. Craziness. I also did the same thing with, let's see, where's the other one? Oh, no. So we did change keyword density and we did add new words. Oh, so that's pretty much it. So now you can, when it comes to descriptions, you can find the keywords to put in your description. You can add new keywords that you used from the previous, that you got from the previous step into your existing description. If you don't have an existing description, you can use ChatGPT, the first prompt that we looked at for descriptions, to write it. And then once you realize that a specific keyword needs to be repeated a certain number of times to just cross that threshold, you can use ChatGPT as well. All of it is just magical. And again, a warning, it's not going to do 100% amazing job every time. It's probably going to give you gibberish and garbage 8 times out of 10. But if you give it the right keywords and you realize that this is a way to get inspiration, this is a way to get ideas, this is a way to get something that is almost done, not fully done, you could get amazing results. People ask me all the time, how much time should I spend every week doing App Store optimization? I say, however much time you have, really. Like, how much more time do you want to spend at getting more money? How much more time do you want to spend at getting more popularity? However much time you have, you get to decide that. But this cuts down time by a ton. So you no longer have to spend 2 hours every week. Now you can spend 30 minutes and maybe achieve the same, if not more. That to me is incredible, and that's where ChatGPT is very useful. And as I said before, maybe you'll see some of these prompts somehow becoming features in App Figures. And if you have any other ideas, or if you liked these and you would love to see them, let me know in the comments, because the chat will expire, but the comments won't. So I can read those later and have some feedback for the product team as we build more and more AI into the platform. And that's pretty much it. I am on time with a minute to spare. Quite amazing. But I am really happy to kickstart new live streams in 2023. We will have a promo code in the description for the platform, and there are 2 more live streams already scheduled on our channel. If you're not subscribed, give it a click and subscribe so you get them. I'm going to be talking about search ads, and I'm going to be talking about funding for your app, something I have not talked about on live streams yet. I'm going to bring in a guest who has a way for you to just do more with your money without having to give up equity in your company. A concept I love. If you have followed me for any amount of time, you know that I don't like giving equity unnecessarily. So I'll be talking about that in a few weeks. I'll be talking about search ads a few weeks later. And I think that's pretty much it. Does anyone have any questions? If you have any questions, drop them in the chat quickly. Otherwise, that's pretty much it for this first iteration at ChatGPT. And if you want me to do another one where I get way more technical and way more into ChatGPT and crazy prompts, also let me know in the comments. I have some ideas. They're kind of out there, and I don't think we can get through more than maybe 2 in an hour, but they're really powerful, really, really powerful, especially if you get under the hood and you start understanding the whole operator mode. It's wild. I see no questions, so I'm going to end this and say happy Wednesday. I'm really glad you all joined. This will be recorded and available on the channel later, so if you want to share it or if you want to watch it again, go for it. And I will also link to the resource with all the prompts that you saw today, and you can use them for yourself. And if you do use them for yourself, I would love to know how that goes. Hit me up on Twitter, leave a comment on the video. Just let me know if it was really useful for you in any way. I don't want to be another one of those SEO ChatGPT videos no one cares about. So on that happy note, I will say goodbye, and I will see you again in a few weeks. That's it from me.